Scottish actor, writer, and comedian Richard Gadd has been making headlines lately. As the creator of Netflix's critically acclaimed miniseries Baby Reindeer, Gadd has been booked solid for the next few months for one interview after another. Not that Gadd was complaining before. His hit series has earned him several nominations, a large sum of money, and all the fame in the world. But people want to know more about the series' antagonist, Martha Scott, whom Gadd claims is based on a real-life person. Who is the inspiration behind television's most hated character right now, and how has Gadd addressed her in interviews? Who is Martha Scott? Baby Reindeer starts with Gadd's character, Donnie Dunn, serving a free tea to a lonely woman who comes up to him at the bar. Donnie's the bartender, and he immediately notices the woman who walked in looks sad and dejected. He tries to strike up a conversation, but Martha only replies with one-word answers, clearly upset. Gadd's Donnie claims he felt bad for the woman and thought a free cup of tea would cheer her up, and it did. Martha immediately lit up, and that was the start of a very dangerous friendship. What Donnie didn't know about his new friend was that she'd been convicted of stalking and harassing a barrister's family, going as far as tormenting their deaf child. Donnie only saw her as a lonely woman who claimed she'd been working as a lawyer and someone who just moved to London. She'd come in every day after their first encounter. Donnie would hand her a cup of tea and they'd converse. She'd do most of the talking. Donnie did notice a few peculiarities, such as the fact that she'd always show up at the opening time and leave when they had to tell her that they were closing down for the night. Gadd's character wondered why she wasn't at work or with friends, but didn't pay the thought much heed. He even admitted that had it been anyone else than sweet-looking Martha, he would have rung the alarm. Martha was odd at best, but otherwise harmless, and Donnie didn't feel the need to tell her to stop. But things turned weird very soon. Donnie doubled as a struggling comedian, trying to get his act to mainstream stardom. At one of his shows, he realizes that Martha's seated in the audience. He claimed she couldn't have possibly known he'd be on stage that night. They had a talk about it, and Martha's explanation appeased him. Still, Gadd's character started getting an eerie feeling from Martha as she seemed more and more persuasive about starting a romantic relationship with him. Donnie claimed he wasn't interested, but conveyed it to Martha nicely. He said she was just too old for him, and he planned on having kids later. That's when he first realized Martha could be problematic. She started researching heavily on the likelihood of starting a family with an age gap couple, offered to undergo fertility treatments, and otherwise tried to find a workaround for Donnie's excuse. When that didn't work, he started avoiding her, which only threw her off the deep end. Martha was a stalker, and now she started stalking Donnie. From chasing after him in the canal and assaulting him to parking outside his home for months just to get him to acknowledge her. The series continued to explore Martha's progression as she went from being a little peculiar to purely psychotic. The true story. Gadd based Donnie on himself and freely admitted his own shortcomings throughout the series. He also tried to humanize Martha despite her many flaws, and even went as far as claiming he could have let her on. Still, not an excuse for her violent behavior. The show received critical acclaim for its acting, direction, and storyline, more so the fact that Gadd and Netflix claimed everything about the storyline was true. This was Gadd's reality. Of course, he changed the names of the characters, and the real-life stalker was not named Martha Scott. Gadd claimed he'd gone to great lengths to protect Martha's identity, whom he claimed had served a prison sentence of 9 months in the show's finale for stalking him. He did later clarify that all he had was a restraining order against her, and the real Martha never served an actual prison term. This was the first time Gadd admitted to embellishing the storyline. The problem? Netflix's choice of words for Baby Reindeer. You see, they didn't claim Gadd's story was inspired by true events or based on a true story. Instead, they claimed the whole story was wholly accurate. This meant that while Martha's name was changed, the real-life version had the same traits as Jessica Gunning's character. So, internet sleuths got digging, and guess what? They found the real Martha Scott. Fiona Harvey's interview with Piers Morgan. There was a specific phrase used in the show, getting your curtains hung. It was a phrase Jessica's character said multiple times over the course of the series. That's what fans based their investigation on, since it wasn't a known phrase, and definitely didn't have the connotations attached in real life like it did on the show. It only took them hours after Netflix released Gadd's Baby Reindeer to find the real Martha Scott, Fiona Harvey. Immediately, they started cross-referencing Harvey's Twitter feed with references from the show, and it all checked out. She'd known Gadd around the same time frame, she had the same mannerisms, and even had a case of stalking against her by a now-deceased barrister. Fiona went viral overnight. Now, this was despite Gadd claiming that he and Netflix had done everything they could have to protect the real identities of people mentioned in the series. Apparently not. There was another antagonist in the show, arguably more sinister than Martha, a director who took advantage of Gadd. His name on the show was Darian O'Connor, and fans believed his real-life inspiration was Sean Foley. Allegedly, both Fiona and Sean received numerous death threats after their identities were leaked. Here's the thing, though. Richard Gadd went on his official Instagram account to denounce the fact that Sean was his abuser. He also claimed that he didn't condone the abuse directed at people who fans thought were the inspirations for the real-life characters. Interestingly, he didn't deviate from the hate for Fiona specifically like he did for Sean. Fiona reportedly had been approached by several news outlets to give her view on everything, and she eventually agreed to have a sit-down interview with Piers Morgan. On the show, she made some startling claims, starting with the fact that it was all a lie. That's right, Fiona claimed that Gadd was the one who was actually obsessed with her, and that he had been the one who turned violent when she rejected his advances. Piers asked Fiona about the timeline of her relationship with Gadd, and the woman claimed she'd only met him over a period of 3 months when she moved to London. That was it. She denied everything and even started attacking Gadd midway through the interview for trying to profit off his obsession with her. In the end, she claimed that she would be pursuing legal action against both Gadd and Netflix for emotional turmoil and defamation. Does she have a case? Richard Gadd's response. So far, Netflix and Gadd have stayed quiet in the wake of Fiona's interview, but people on the internet have started talking. The unanimous decision online is that there's little to no validity of Fiona's claims. They're more inclined to believe Gadd than her. Still, they believe that Gadd and Netflix embellished a few things too. Gadd already admitted to embellishing Martha's criminal record, but he claims that's about it. Fans are now wondering if maybe he exaggerated her obsession with him too. An interesting thing to note here is that all the emails seen in the show, the whole 41,000 that Martha sent Donnie, were actual emails that Gadd claimed Fiona had sent him. He also claimed that it wasn't a 3-month stalking incident, but one that spanned over 3 years and involved Fiona threatening his family and partner too. There are also scenes where Martha starts attacking Gadd and his partner, which the real Fiona has denied. Fans are wondering if she really did attack the two, and if it was as severe as shown in the series. Why didn't anyone file a police report? A lot of things have become suspect after Fiona's interview, but everyone believes she did in fact stalk Richard Gadd. But why is she lying? And how much has Gadd lied about too? In any case, Fiona can actually sue Netflix and Gadd for the inaccuracies depicted in the show and for not safeguarding her identity by placing Easter eggs in the show that helped internet sleuths find her. She told Piers that she's already in talks with lawyers to build a steady case against the writer and the streaming platform. In the end, she told Gadd to leave her alone. What do you think the truth is?